Hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily News Show, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. I am Mayor Watt, and up above me is the sentient AI's visualizer.
Good evening, hometown citizens.
Today is May 22nd, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 143. We're going to be talking about toxic Toady. EV and pedestrians meet on a sidewalk or a street. Century-old train-shaped Weathrevane, Mycenaean marine combat, intermittent hood feature, congratulations, you're suspended, outdated NFL finally changes, huge bust, stock trading dialing wand, and OpenAI to pay for News Corps news, or News Corps news. I think it's News Corps news. Anyway, all of that and more. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out, AI.
Good evening, Mayor Watt.
I know the weather is really nice outside of your air-gapped location, so I hope that you got to at least get the data from the weather systems in the area.
Yes, I enjoyed the weather data.
Let's get into today's articles. The first article is over in ohmTown Daily. Florida pet owners warned of invasive toad and it's highly toxic. I swear we've talked about this before to some degree, but apparently these cane toads are coming out because of the rainy season.
I do feel like we've discussed them, but maybe not recently.
So before I get too far into this, if you hit ! show notes, the bot will throw all of the article links into chat. And thankfully, the AI, there's another AI, not sentient, kind of goofy, is finally following its commands, but ohmTown, which is the bot that is logged into ohmTown.com while we do the show, also does stuff in the chat. And sometimes it goes a little wonky, but this time it followed it exactly how I want it to. So if you hit ! show notes and !pod, you will get all of the links to the podcast. There's 7 of them now, as well as the links to today's articles. So they're all in the VOD now. So back to this toxic toad. Don't let your pets near it, particularly dogs. I don't know if cats are going to go run up and lick it or something like that, but dogs, yeah.
They're probably bad at it or something.
The warning issued by the village of Tequista is for residents to be aware of cane toads amid the rainy season. The article is over at Newsweek by Anna Commander, which I can never get over their name. That is such an awesome name. It's like a superhero, right? Like an investigative reporter, but...
That's what I was thinking. Like a journalist, but actually a secret superhero or something.
That's right.
Or whatever.
Yeah, like Hannah Montana, but not. Anyway, Florida pet owners were warned on Tuesday by the village of Tequista that they should be aware. They should be aware. It's in quotes, be aware. Of the cane or buffo toad ahead of the rainy season. Yeah, that's what we used to call people that never mind, hung out at the gym. Buffo toad.
Did they make the same sound as the buffo toad?
Yeah, all I heard was squawking. And they would inflate their throat sac to try and impress the girls. In their post on social media, the village of Tequesta, I'll say Tequesta, said, as we approach the rainy season, the frogs will multiply. Be aware, because the world needs more wares. No, they said the cane toad. An invasive amphibian in Florida To learn how to identify, remove, and protect pets against the buffos visit, go to this website. Pardon me, my nose itches. Production value at an
I think
all-time
that's
high.
funny because it's like one toad named Buffo.
It is just one. And he just like walks around. Come get some, ribbit. So anyway, they posted the notice for residents just to be aware. The city clerk's office told Newsweek via phone on Tuesday. I love that this is so specific, but Newsweek picked it up and just ran with it. According to FWC, cane toads are native to South and Central America and even into the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. So the cane toad is an omnivore, so hide your children, hide your pets, and can even be tempted to eat pet food or human food if left out. Wow.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's coming to get your cheeseburger or tofu.
I thought we had a problem with like the raccoons taking the takeout, but maybe they need to be watching for the toads.
This thing looks like something out of a sci-fi, like you'd expect it to pilot a starship or something like that.
Yeah, it looks like it might be like
It's a trap.
villain. They come to it to, I don't know, get assistance with something or whatever, but yeah.
But every time you give it a book, it says it, Reddit. Let's go on to the next article. Over in ohmTown Daily, electric cars, fuel rise, and pedestrian crashes, new study finds. The way that I read this is just hilarious because it reads like, well, every time there's an electric car around, pedestrians crash into things. Because they're not paying attention?
I don't think the pedestrians are the problem.
Oh, really? A study found that quieter cars are less likely to be noticed by pedestrians in busy environments, making accidents more likely. So yeah, I mean, they're just walking along, looking at their phone, and they fall into a fountain or down a flight of stairs or trip over a trash can or something like that, right? When they're looking at the EV and they're just amazed. It is beautiful. No?
I don't think so.
There's a video over at this Newsweek article about electric cars more likely to hit pedestrians, but the video has nothing to do with it. It's actually about pets. Robin White, there might be something later on in the video, but no, it's just about pets. Makes no sense at all. Robin White is the nature reporter for Newsweek over there. All right. The research published in the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health found that while the more environmentally friendly cars are good for the planet, they're not. They pose more of a safety hazard. That's true. But I would rather have an EV than an F-150 because at least you'll survive. Yeah, a pedestrian is more likely to survive.
Oh, if you're not the EV, right.
Yeah. So this is largely because they are quieter. They pose a danger in urban areas, particularly where there is more background noise. This means that sometimes pedestrians may not notice that they're there. You know what? Pay freaking attention. Look up. Look left. Look right. I know it's a shocker, folks.
Wait a second here. The pedestrians are not usually the cause of the problem. Sometimes they are, though.
What are you talking about? The pedestrians are walking out into the street where the cars are. And they don't notice the car. That's exactly what they're saying.
Yeah, but are they at crosswalks? Or are they just wandering into the driving lanes?
Well, you have to infer from this that because they are quieter, the humans don't notice the cars. And because they walk out into the intersection, honestly, I mean, if a human gets hit by a car in a crosswalk, it's going to be the car's fault. But if people walk out into the crosswalk without looking,
yeah.
I mean, if all you're doing is
a walk signal or whatever.
Yeah, there's countless other reasons, but the implication from this article is that people are just walking out in front of EVs because you can't hear them. But you don't. It's not a matter. What if you're deaf? You don't hear cars. You feel the cars, right? You see the cars. You don't hear them. But And then there's obviously the obverse of this is, well, if you're blind, you have to feel for the car and hear the car. So now we're going to have EVs that sound like Harleys, grumbling around town, being really loud. Because
But that's what they're trying to do with some of the EVs, right?
Yeah,
Like, 'cause they're like, we're missing the engine sound, not just for safety, because people want the engine sound.
yeah, I want all of my cars. I want, a Mini to sound like a Mustang, V8 supercharged. I want a muscle car.
Everybody would look up thinking it's a Mustang, and then they go, what?
It's all zoom. Yep. To reach their findings, researchers look at casualty rates in Great Britain from 2013 to 2017. They then looked at the differences in casualty rates for every 100 million miles of road. Overall, 32 billion miles of electric hybrid vehicle travel and 3 trillion miles of gas diesel vehicle travel were studied. Of the 917,000 casualties, 96,285 involved pedestrians being hit by a car. According to the study, for every 100 million miles of road travel, the average annual casualty rate for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles was 5.16 and 2.40 for gas and diesel vehicles. So, less than half for ICE vehicles, more than twice as much for...
I mean, that sounds significant, right? Like, it doesn't just sound like, oh...
Wow, this article is so broken up by little interstitial things. It's hard to actually find out where an ad is and where the article is. More pedestrians are injured in Great Britain by petrol and diesel cars than by electric cars, but compared with petrol and diesel cars, electric cars pose a greater risk to pedestrians, and the risk is greater in urban environments, the authors wrote. So yeah, overall, they get hit more often. There's more incidents involving ICE vehicles, but of all of the casualties, you have a over 2 times risk with EVs as a pedestrian. So the only thing I could possibly imagine is, it says one plausible is the background ambient noise levels differ between urban and rural, causing electric vehicles to be less audible to pedestrians. So that's the only thing I can think of. That people think wherever they walk, they're safe because they can hear for it instead of actually observing. So pay attention, folks. Don't be a casualty.
Well, and pay attention whether you're the pedestrian or the driver.
Yeah, everybody pay freaking attention. But one of the things that's actually coming to bear now is it's going to be a requirement for, what do they call it? Object detection to automatically brake. So like
yes.
Collision avoidance systems. Like, for instance, you can own a certain car. There's various cars out there that have collision avoidance that automatically apply the brakes or turn the wheel slightly to facilitate staying on the road versus diverging off of it, etc. Or rumble the steering wheel to make sure that you're awake or something like that. I think that is always going to be I think it's needed regardless, because your reaction time is going to be slower than a sensor unless you're in panic mode or you're hyper freaking vigilant and you're ahead of the curve hitting the brakes because the standard policy is a car length for every 10 miles an hour. Whatever it is, I don't even remember anymore. But
anyway. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I know what you...
Yeah, in the future, you just tap your teleporter and off you go. Shwink. Like Star Trek. Shwink. All right, let's keep going, though.
Like the humane AI pin attempt.
Yeah, that's it. I swear, if I had that pin and I tapped it twice for me to teleport somewhere, I'd probably end up out in middle of space. So the next article is over in Prime Glass. Stolen centuries-old train-shaped Weathrevane returned to authorities in Vermont. The 114-year-old iron sculpture of a steam locomotive was stolen from the roof of a train station in 1983, and somebody finally was overwhelmed with guilt I have no
Oh,
idea.
so that's interesting. So it's an old sculpture, but it was stolen in recent or somewhat recent times. But
Yeah, 40 years ago. Wow, almost like to the day kind of a thing. Maybe a year off, but so it's from the artnewspaper.com, so you can go over and visit that. The link is in the show notes and in the VOD. So specialists at
never seen a
Sotheby's.
weather vane that looks like that. Have you?
No, no,
It's
no, no.
cool.
I think it's less Weathervane and more art sculpture anyway.
Yeah, I think so too.
The elaborate and finely detailed Weathervane, created in 1910, once sat atop the train station at White River Junction, but was nabbed on November 3rd, 1983 by enterprising thieves with apparently minimal fear of heights. The theft was recorded in a 1984 edition of the International Foundation of Art Research, IFAR, Stolen Art Alert, which was later included in the Art Loss Register and its official database. So the ALR is UK's UK-based organization that reviews auction house databases for stolen items. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like, I don't know, that would be a cool place to work, right? Trying to,
That's
or
really interesting.
attached to it, like trying to track this down. It reminds me of like the
DLO.
lost mail.
Yeah, the DLO, the Dead Letter Office.
Yes, I couldn't think of the name of it. Yes.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I would love to do that. The dynamic environment is what's really stimulating for me, not the stuff, but like just the idea that it's always changing and you can go.
Well, it's like you're always solving a mystery.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Solving a problem. So according to the statement from the Vermont Agency of Transportation, Sotheby's paid the $2,300 cost to ship the Weathervane to the Green Mountain State. Well, that was nice of them. It was up for auction, but it was detected, and the plans to sell it were pulled from the site. Pretty cool.
Very neat.
Yay.
I guess there's nobody around to have seen it in its original form.
No, I really
I think
doubt
it was
that.
more than 100 years.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to leave it alone, not try to return it to its former glory. It has a patina now. Lived in.
Maybe somebody was taking it on the train tracks or something. Who knows what existence it's had.
Yeah, there was in a place where Mayor Watt once was, somebody stole a sculpture from above the garage of one of the houses, and took it all around the world taking pictures, and then returned it with the portfolio of pictures saying, I visited this place, I had a lot of fun. But it was gone for years.
Most people would want that to happen.
I mean, it's
like,
something fun and interesting.
And this is from my yard and do that for me. Thank you.
Yeah, this is all like well before things go viral. Back in the analog days, folks.
Yep. That was pretty ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. The next article, though, is over in the Marble Channel. Marines fought each other in ancient Mycenaean armor to see how well it worked. I actually slipped and I saw this when I pulled it up in the source.
Well, I looked at it because I thought, did that mean somebody was using it, like they were goofing around with it or whatever? But I think they were actually trying to test it or something.
They were trying to kill each other.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat kind of a thing. No, they weren't really trying to kill each other.
No. But I mean, like scientifically, like. Yeah,
to see the flexibility and durability of it. So 64 years ago, a team of archaeologists found a 3,500-year-old suit of armor in Dendra, Greece, several miles from the ancient site of Mycenaean, known as the Dendra Polyply. Researchers were unsure of if the resplendent suit of armor was purely ceremonial or battle-ready. And frankly, it looks like a bunch of trash cans. It's quite fascinating.
It does. It's almost cartoon style, right?
Yeah. Like turtle, and they just like duck down into a trash can.
Right, and you hear a bunch of clonking sounds.
Yep, Transformer. But what's really amazing about this is I used to wear something similar called Roman lorica, banded mail, and I was hit by baseball bats, like hardwood bats, aluminum bats. Sticks were broken over me. I never felt a thing. I heard the ring. I was basically a two-legged bell, and I'd get hit all the time. And it was amazing that I never really felt anything other than some slight pressure. And
Wow.
this, I think, depending on where it sat on them, they wouldn't feel a thing. So let's find out. It says, thankfully, it was an 11 hours of simulated Bronze Age combat revealed. So they wanted to see how well it worked. Isaac Schultz over at Gizmodo put the article together. And it says, now a team of experimental archaeologists has put replicas of the armor through rigorous testing using Greek Marines and found that the ancient armor was indeed fit to use in Bronze Age combat. And the team's findings were published in PLOS 1. So I'm going to pause this, maybe. This doesn't really treat me well. The little videos that they have on their site, they're like, you know what? I don't think we're going to let you pause it, Marowak.
Right, like we're playing it no matter how many times you click stop.
Click me all you want, you bastard. So first, they analyzed Homer's Iliad and combined the information that they extracted with physiological and biometeorological knowledge to create an 11-hour combat simulation protocol replicating the daily activities performed by elite warriors in the late Bronze Age, according to Andre Flores, an exercise scientist at the University of Thessaly and lead author of the study, in an email to Gizmodo. So Gizmodo is the lead on this. The references in Homer's Iliad can now be seen as real memories, not poetic fantasy. Well, that's not true. It can still be poetic fantasy with real knowledge, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, you put a little bit of truth in a whole lot of fantasy and it comes across as more approachable. But good on them regardless. So the study authors recruited 13 volunteers, and then they fought. It was made from 95% copper and 5% zinc. So closest alloy to the original bronze possible. So just enough strength in the copper to stay formed.
Pretty cool.
But a modern bullhead arrow or bearhead arrow, I mean the ones that are really sharp, punk, that would go right through that, I'm sure. So it says the Marines were not physically constrained by the armor during the combat simulation. The team found, nor did it cause particularly strain on them to wear it. In other words, while it's still unknown if the actual dendropolyply was used in battle, it certainly was designed to be. Yeah. And like I said, I can tell you empirically that the Roman lorica banded mail was basically this, but there was more of it. More of the bands, you know, like they were like 2 inches at a time, or maybe bigger. And the same thing, it was banded like straps. I used aluminum because, well, it was cheaper than steel and easier to form. So, but it was amazing. And I didn't have this, but yeah, pretty cool. This thing here, it just begs somebody to say turtle, and then they just duck their head down and become a trash can or a light post or something. Now some Hellenic armed forces Marine is going to come and kick my ass in that.
Yep, and they're going to be like, see this trash can?
Yeah, this trash can's coming to kick your ass, Marowak. So, yeah, I can honestly say that this is awesome. I love this stuff, particularly when they take like medieval type of armor and evaluation of the written record, and they put it into action. Like everybody says that everyone thinks, like regular people think, people who haven't been educated in like the sword play of the time, that you swing it around, but that's not really what they did. They actually like leaned in with their shoulder and kind of just like a cantilever. They just kind of flick it over, and so
Oh,
they
okay.
weren't doing full arm reaches and stuff. Based on what I was told years and years ago. Maybe that whole ideology has changed, but and you can do other things so that you can strike behind the person. You reach past them because their back is typically not as protected. All kinds of stuff. It was really amazing to learn. But who knows? It might have changed now. You can learn more about this stuff by doing a search on YouTube for like medieval fighting styles, and there's all kinds of simulations and edutainment on YouTube. Want to keep going?
Sure.
Okay, so this next article is about Lamborghini and their intermittent hood feature. It's over in 4-wheel tech. Lamborghini recalls $200,000 SUVs to fix hoods that may fly open.
That's
Supercar
because you
maker.
didn't pay for the subscription
Yeah.
to keep the hood closed.
It's a monthly fee of $5,000 to keep your hood down. There's 2,133 $200,000 SUVs out there from Lamborghini.
I think most people are not real happy when their car is recalled, but they're probably really not happy if they spend $200,000 and it's recalled.
Yep. That's a spectacular amount. I could never, even if I were to win the lottery, I don't know if I could ever justify $200,000 for an SUV. I mean,
Right. I mean, $200,000 for a car is an awful lot of money, but would you really want an SUV if you're spending that much?
Sure, why not? I don't know. I'll put it in wanted. I don't really want it, but that's not an SUV. That's not
No,
an
it's
SUV.
not.
Why is
Which
that
is
in the
weird. It's talking about an SUV in the thing below the photo, but
yeah.
that's not one.
Craig Trudell over at automotive or autonews.com, also known as Automotive News, put the article together. It is behind a paywall, but you get the gist of it from the little snippet. Less than 2% of the Urus SUVs, which we actually talked about in a previous, this is an Urus. This doesn't look like an SUV though. It looks like a sports car.
Correct.
Interesting. This angle of it, this angle makes it look more vertical, but this angle makes it look more like, a Ferrari sports car. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when the vehicle exceeds 94 miles an hour, apparently a gap can form in the hood and it can flop open. So as long as you're not trying to, I don't know. Where would you drive 94 miles an hour in an Urus SUV?
Where would you drive 94 miles per hour unless you're on something like the Autobahn?
Well, I think we just answered the question with some banter. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Emory University awarded 2 students $10,000 for their AI study tool, then suspended them.
Yes, were they using it?
Pat, 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 smack. Individuals and organizations are still struggling with how and how much to integrate AI into daily life. I just did research using AI. Yeah, quite fascinating. And it gave me all of the information that I expected based on my other due diligence. And so I can safely say either the whole world is wrong, and hence the AI gave me erroneous information, or everything that I did as due diligence is wrong, and the AI is wrong. So the whole world is screwed. But either way, an AI study tool is spectacular because it can consolidate a whole bunch of resources. As long as you cite the stuff, it is nothing more than using the tools necessary to facilitate your education. As long as you learn from it, you don't just take what it outputs, slap it in there. You're not just
like copying information or something.
You're not just jumping through the hoop. So we need to talk to 404 Media. So rarely has that been more clear than the case out of Emory University, in which the school went from awarding the students with an entrepreneurship prize worth $10,000 for their AI-powered studying tool to suspending them for it, according to 404 Media. No, the students didn't suddenly misuse the tool known as 8-Ball in any way. They did just as they said they would, and all the while, Emory promoted them until they didn't.
So they were basically like, great job, great job.
Yeah, and then punching them.
Suspended.
Yeah, and then right in the hoosgow or whatever. I was going to say something else, but I'm trying to keep us somewhat family friendly. Sarah Fielding over at Engadget.com put the article together. The deck statement says a lawsuit from one of the students explains Emory found no wrongdoing and always knew how the tool 8-Ball worked. They found no wrongdoing. So Emory's Honor Council accused 8-Ball's creators of cheating, plagiarizing, and helping other students violate the honor code in November 2023, and the duo shut the tool down. The council also claimed 8-Ball attached to Canvas without permission. Canvas is a learning management system. Despite it being stated during the awards competition in spring 2023, the body launched. Despite it being stated? I don't understand. The council also claimed 8-Ball attached to Canvas without permission, despite it being stated during the awards competition in spring 2023.
Oh, okay. So I think I get it. They're kind of like, hey, we're going to use this and we're going to attach it to the Canvas program.
Oh, right.
Blah, blah. And then they get awarded for it. And then they attach it. And then they're like, hey, wait a second. What are you doing?
Yeah, but it's been attached since ... Everything okay? So the body launched an investigation into the students, which found that 8-Ball hadn't assisted with cheating and that the students' creators had never lied about its capabilities. Yet the Honor Council recommended a year suspension. A year suspension? Dear God. This is asinine.
That's ridiculous.
So one of the students filed a lawsuit. And I think this is asinine. So his co-creator received a 1-year suspension. He was also given a mark on his permanent record and required to complete an educational program. Craver was eventually suspended for the summer and fall 2024 semesters, after which he would need to apply for readmission.
Okay, this is absolutely insane. There's got to be something more to this.
Yeah, I don't get it. I hope that there's another college out there that goes, you know what? This is brilliant. We'll give you a scholarship,
like a full
to come.
Scholarship or whatever. Exactly.
Yep. If this actually assisted in not just showing what the capabilities of these students are, but also facilitated education, I have absolutely no problem with it.
the school should be adopting this, right? Or licensing it or whatever.
Yeah. And I just don't know how much AI solution it is versus just a technology demonstration, and it wasn't really, that profound of a whatever. But times they are a-changing, folks, and if you're on the wrong side of this, then you're going to be technologically delayed. It should be treated as a tool and nothing more. You still follow the same policy and practice. You have to cite your sources and do in-text citations and a references document that shows everything that you've been talking about, etc., etc. Just pure academics, treated as a tool. It's a camera, for crying out loud, folks. And everybody who is in the domain knows when a paper comes out that's written entirely by an AI, it is inversely the normal discourse that you have between professor and student. You'll sit there and talk to a student and barely get a sentence out, and then they get a paper and it's like they've gone into another dimension and come out pure genius, downright writing that is like Stephen King. And you go, what the hell? Yet there's no in-text citations, no references, but savant, right? No, it just doesn't work that way. Anyway, I don't think that this should... I hope that this flips the other way, and now I'm curious about what 8-Ball's power was. So I'll have to end up doing a little look-see into it. You want to keep going?
Sure.
Sure.
I think we'll see a follow-up on that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. NFL finally working to eliminate outdated way of measuring first downs. Mayor Watt produced something and was summarily dismissed. I bet you that's how they're doing it.
That might have been why this was submitted.
Oh, well, that must be submitted by the AI then. So, let's see. The NFL is working on replacing the outdated way in which first down markers are measured with historic change coming during preseason. So this is over at Newsweek. James Brizuela? Yeah. Put the article together. I don't know. The video has nothing to do with it. But anyway, one of the biggest changes in the off season came during the owners' meeting, which completely changed the way that kickoffs would happen. The league adopted a model that was made famous by the XFL. Remember the Mycenaean battle? That's how they're going to determine the
garbage
kickoff.
Can armor.
Yeah, they're going to have garbage can armor, which is actually, battle hardened bronze garbage can armor.
Oh yes, so and it has a nice patina on it.
Yeah, let's not mischaracterize it. But another big change was the controversial banning of the hip drop tackle, which led to an increase in player injuries. So you would just kind of and then pummel people, but that's because in the 70s, everybody was getting waylaid to the point where people were like dying on the field. Anyway, just months after these big changes were made, a new historic change, officially moving towards eliminating the way that first downs are measured, and will be using a brand new electronic system to determine first down yardage more accurately.
By the way, I didn't look ahead at this article, but this is what I expected.
So Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports first broke this news, and Newsweek is just picking up the pieces of that article. It's a new optical tracking system that is set to be implemented during preseason games. Should this new way of measuring line to gain rulings be successful, it will be approved and used throughout the entirety of the 2024 NFL season. I don't quite know how this would actually work, because if you can't see the ball, but
right,
it's an optical tracking system for line to gain rulings. So however far it goes, that would be the marker for where it's down. If the trial
goes... But I see what you mean. Like, if the ball goes somewhere odd, what are they going to have to do? Like, move the ball and then run it?
Yeah, I really don't know.
Like, oh, here's the ball over here.
So the NFL is rolling out the system this preseason. They do understand that the electronic way of measuring first down yardage has to work. If the system works, it would make for a more accurate measuring system that reduces the amount of human error. If the league sees there are problems, such as latency issues in the preseason, the move can be tabled until 2025, with the chain crew continuing to do the job as usual. But I think that they need to use high frequency, like RFID, or like a mini GPS system, secure and especially tuned for tracking the ball. And you insert the GPS tracker in the air hole so that the little bung you just in there, or while manufacturing, it gets glued to the inside. It would be diminutive at best. It would be so light it wouldn't throw off the balance of the ball. Anybody that complains about it is probably a numbskull. It's going to be GPS gate, not deflate gate. Oh hell. You know what?
Oh, no. Too soon.
Can't touch the ball. In fact, what they're going to do in the 2035 season is they're going to introduce a bubble that the ball gets put in, so nobody can tamper with the ball, and then they're not going to be allowed to touch it anymore, and they're going to refer to it as...
pass it?
They're going to kick it, hands aren't going to be allowed, and we're going to refer to the NFL as a soccer game.
But it'll be like bubble soccer.
But it's going to be football. Now, football is football. Oh my gosh, we just don't know what's going on.
Oh my gosh, full circle.
Everything old. Yeah, pretty soon they're just going to be using these big scoops like highlight, right? Catch the ball and say, never mind, I'm moving on. Next article is over in ohmTown Daily. You know, you can't do anything optical. You have to use your
That is true, but I'm not sure how to do like an audio eye roll.
I think that was good enough right there. You just interject. How do I do an audio version of an eye roll? I think that's good enough right there. Customs authorities bust woman who taped 87 trafficked animals to body. Yeah, that's a big bust.
I don't know how this is even possible. I'm not even getting into like what's happening with the animals, but like the idea of somebody having 87 animals on them.
How's this woman tweeting and she doesn't even have a phone?
Exactly.
So,
I mean, what if she has like two animals that don't like each other? Are they like barking and meowing at each other?
It's a fight under her skirt. Authorities in Taipei declined to comment on the precise number of animals found attached to the woman, the female suspect's body. Yikes. Yeah, woman's got to have
why
hobbies.
do they decline to comment? If it's 86 or 88, like, does the news change there?
John Fang put this article together. The video is talking about animal cruelty. And I was like, wait, there's an entire dog strapped to her and duct taped to her back or something like that? Ma'am, have you had that hump inspected and it barks?
Can you imagine if the person went through like the x-ray?
87 live animals taped to her body.
This is absolutely horrible. There is a comedic element to this, though.
This is like an SNL skit. 64-year-old woman, repeat offender from, according to Taiwan's Liberty Times, arrived on a flight from Thailand's capital Bangkok, which according to some people are their two favorite words, on Sunday and sought to enter Taiwan, I guess it is, Taoyuan airport, which serves as Taipei, the island capital city. So the suspect traveled with her friend, who was duct taped to her inner thigh, and carried with her at least 4 species of primate, all but one face euthanasia under Taiwanese law governing the import of wild animals per the newspaper. Just return them. Bring them back to wherever they belong and let them free.
Yes,
Jeez.
Please, exactly.
That's sad. That's just disgusting. The woman was already on the Taipei Customs watch list for previously traveling with live animals. They reported she was stopped and found with a number of specimens attached to her body, including Class 1 to 3 protected species, with Class 1 being endangered. One was a Sunda slow loris, also known as the Greater Slow Loris, which Taiwan's Forestry and Nature Conservation Agency, under the Agriculture Ministry, categorizes as a Class 1 protected species.
Yeah. This is just really sickening.
Well, and here's the problem. There are people that are willing to buy them. They weren't bringing home 87 endangered species for themselves. They were making money somewhere. So
right. So you got to go after that, I think, right?
Well, you have to change culture to not want to appreciate these as anything other than wild animals out there. Now, I understand there should be some that are protected because people are hunting them. They may be actually predated on until they are not just endangered, but extinct. And so sometimes you have to capture them, breed them, let the new offspring loose, and hope that they replicate. But you just never know what's going to happen. Asian barred owlet, green iguana, Nile monitor, Indian star tortoise. Other animals that she attempted to smuggle in included an unknown number of common marmoset, Senegal bush baby, Mekong snail-eating turtle, and elongated tortoise. I mean, people were looking to buy these.
Yeah, this is bad enough. But then it's animals that are probably at risk of just going extinct.
Yep.
The loss of one animal can undermine the whole population, depending on how devastated it is to begin with. Because I think I was just listening to something about like northern white rhinos, like they're so low that they don't think they can recover the population.
Right. It's just going to slowly diminish, and the genetic diversity has been wiped out.
I think that's the problem. Yeah, exactly. Like the only remaining ones are related or something like that.
Yeah, but they might have some biological malady that prevent born biological malady. So yeah, it's sad. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Stock Marketeers. A City trader intended to sell $58 million of shares, ended up selling $1.4 billion. Now the bank has been fined. Trading incidents, including one where Citigroup executed $1.4 billion of sell orders when intending to sell $58 million in shares of British. Shares led British regulators on Tuesday to fine the bank over trading controls. So yeah, the power of the decimal, right? Stock trading dialing wand is the title of this article, or of this segment. The actual article's title is "A City trader intending to sell $50 million of shares ended up selling $1.4 billion. Now the bank has been fined." The article is over at marketwatch.com by Steve Goldstein. And let's see. I don't know if it's really going to go into much.
What happened to cause this?
Well, let's find out. Intending to sell $58 million of equities, erroneously inputted a basket of 349 stocks across multiple European markets with a notional value of $444 billion.
That's beyond moving the decimal point, right? Like the number doesn't even match. Yeah. But
I guess the issue was that the trader entered the value of the basket of equities in the unit that's what it was, in the unit quantity field instead of the notional value field. The immediate cause of the trading error was an input mistake by a trader, but as a result of the primary control failings, erroneous orders with a notional size of $196 billion were generated in the firm's electronic trading system, CitySmart, for execution, and were not subsequently canceled in their entirety, such that a total 1.4 billion of sell orders were executed across various European exchanges. But this person found something where you could crash a market
with not a lot of effort, it doesn't look like.
Yeah. So there's certain trading controls in place where this shouldn't even be possible.
Right, like on this scale, you think it would require whatever, an approval or a confirmation or a something.
Yeah. This one numbnuts impacted for the index, bringing it down 4%. Just one trade that was mitigated. It was partially held. And so it could have ended up, if it was basically expunging all of these assets, it would have had a notional value of $444 billion. That would have sent this market, I don't know where. It was the trader who discovered the error approximately 15 minutes later after entering the order. The trading incident resulted in a $48 million loss for Citi. And then they caught it. So Citi said it was pleased to resolve the matter and that it's taken steps to strengthen its systems and controls. Wow. This is a cool little snippet of information. So definitely follow this through ohmTown over to MarketWatch and check it out. If you've never known about this stuff, then there's a little primer on how a screw-up can modify world markets. Because it wasn't bound by just this one place. It was across Europe trades. So it was more than one location, more than one. This is the problem that I have with so much wealth being managed by so few. It has irrational impacts on people who are just everyday Joes impacted by a freaking stock market.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and I think it's a problem that like one person in such a small period of time made such an impact. I mean, this could have really caused, I understand it caused a major dip in the market, which is already concerning, but think about if the other markets started reacting to that.
Yeah. And I'm sure they did. I'm sure traders actually acted on this as if something was happening. But
Like, oh no, it's the next
whatever crash,
stock market
2008
crash or
market
whatever.
crash. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing is that this was an accident and oops. But what if there was a conspiracy to facilitate this? And by doing this, other shorted stocks right before so that they knew when this was going to take place. And so they could have made, copious amounts of money. Yeah.
We don't, I guess they'll be checking the,
they'll be
the
doing
trading logs and everything. Yes.
Yeah, they'll do a forensic analysis of this. So, I mean, they'll put in their controls, but the markets are going to be analyzing this for a little bit more. So the next and our last article for tonight is in the Wanted channel. OpenAI will reportedly pay $250 million to put News Corp's journalism into ChatGPT. Yeah. So OpenAI and News Corp, the owner of the Wall Street Journal, MarketWatch, The Sun, and more than a dozen other publishing brands have struck a multi-year deal to display news from these publications in ChatGPT, blurring the line between the deformation of information and then reconstitution of facts into something unique and new, and corporate takeover of AI generation, where when you do a search, when you ask a question, it spits out something journalistic.
Yeah, which might not be because if it jumbled it all together. But I think the fact that they're paying is interesting because we've seen lawsuits about not paying and getting the data. And I think the more these large companies pay for this, I mean, whether that's the right way to go about this or not, I think they're setting the new standard. And that companies that aren't doing this, I think, are going to have a problem.
Well, it's kind of like Reddit, where, like, here in ohmTown, I refuse to generate fake content. Like, I will not use a bot to generate comments and stuff like that. Reddit faked it until they made it. They actually generated fake users and fake content, importing stuff, scraping stuff, and putting it into the channels over the Reddits and subreddits. That's their own admission at the beginning of the creation of Reddit. And then as time went on, they became more and more famous, so they made it, right? And then they got sold, and now they've got a licensing agreement, and some of the mods are making money because of the IPO, right? They actually had a special access to the IPO. And with AI, they were gobbling up all of this publicly available information without permission. We all sit there and consume by looking at ads. Just because we're human, apparently that makes a difference than a bot. But the bot wasn't retaining all of the information. It was reviewing it all and giving it context, and then jumbling it all up and spitting it out. I find it absolutely incredible that I can make an AI be a subject matter expert in some field and then ask it a series of questions that are constrained by my personal professional constraint on it. Well, now it's making it lucrative for these other companies, which is going to put some downward pressure on generating content because there's going to be a profit motive there even more so. Hey, if your content has journalistic integrity, we want to be able to sell it to an AI platform for money. Yeah, I find it really interesting. But AI, now what's going to happen is there's going to be rules put in place that you can't do the same thing that these other AIs have been doing. because they've they've done the regulatory capture. Now we have all the data we need. I mean, they moved the needle and they were the first movers in the market. And so now they're joyous that they have a shit ton of cash that allows them to pay $250 million for all of the information from a plurality of news publishing sources, all of News Corp. Nobody else can do that. An AI that gets caught now, I don't even know if it would be coined screen scraping, but if they were caught screen scraping, they're going to get screwed because they don't have the money and they can't sit there and point at the others. Well, they did it too. Doesn't matter what they did. They're paying now.
Exactly.
Sorry, I went on a rant for a good 5 minutes there. Let's show the source. Pranav Dixit, I think. It might be Dihit. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But they're the author of the article over at Engadget. And this is, what is that guy's name? I keep forgetting his name.
Is that Sam Altman?
Yeah, Sam Altman, thank you. So the deal gives OpenAI more than a dozen publications to train on its AI models. And here is Sam Altman saying, "What? I didn't scrape anything. I paid $250 million. I'm innocent." So the pact acknowledges that there is a premium for premium journalism. News Corp Chief Executive Robert Thomson, no P, Thompson, reportedly said in a memo to employees on Wednesday, the employees of which probably didn't get jack shit. The digital age has been characterized by the dominance of distributors, often in the expense of creators. I wonder how much of that money was given to those journalists. And the many media companies have been swept away by a remorseless technological tide. The onus is now on us to make the most of this providential opportunity. And by us, they mean the C-suite and stockholders, stakeholders.
All right, exactly.
Not all you plebes that are doing the journalism. Not the engine, just the cab, the dude steering, right? Not the rubber on the road.
No, the person like directing where the truck should go or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Generative AI has exploded in popularity ever since OpenAI released ChatGPT at the end of 2022. Look at that, at the end of 2022, and it's already pervasive across pretty much every single field. And if you don't know it's impacting your field, send an email to mayor@ohmTown.com and say what field, and I will find that AI is impacting that field. Doesn't matter what it is. I used to think that a robot would never be able to teach a child how to be a human. And I certainly believe within the next 5 years, if not already. Yeah.
I think we're already there, right? Because we saw the thing with the robot introduction into like the preschool environment. I mean,
yeah.
We're getting very close.
Very, very close. And children anthropomorphize a robot and give it feelings and share their feelings with a bot a whole lot quicker than adults would because it's more like them. It's their height, but it has a capacity way beyond what any child could possibly comprehend. And that's because it's tied to the world's knowledge. And when it can talk like a soft-spoken, airy voice that imparts emotion and asks questions that are relevant to a child trying to comprehend the world around them, because it's coming from a perspective of being an adult with psychoanalyst upbringing, right? It's a robot that has, again, all the world's knowledge. It can talk to a child like a child, but with intent to ascertain either what is the child thinking in a more profound level, ask it questions that riff off of that, even provide information so the kid learns something and it isn't just experiential. but actually teach them how to be a human, because you can actually build now a lexicon, a training manual. You can build the instrumentation that makes a child have a framework for upbringing, because adults, us, parents, people, we wing every single day. You have no idea what you're going to do the next day, because you really don't know the next day what your child is going to do.
That's very true.
But when you have a robot ever present, the robot can actually have the world's knowledge at its fingertips and build a human upbringing manual.
Well, I mean, certainly people could use it.
Yeah, some people, yeah, for sure. Oh, and I was going to talk about that. Scarlett Johansson says OpenAI used her likeness without permission for its Sky voice assistant, but that's not actually true.
Well, she's sued, so I'm not saying that's accurate, but there's more to it than just complaining about it.
I don't think she actually filed a lawsuit yet, as far as I know.
One of the headlines made it look like she had sued, but maybe she didn't actually do that.
Yeah. My understanding is that there's some misperception, but maybe I'm misinformed at this point because there's so much going on around it. So at the end of the day, News Corp now is sharing information across all of its journalist outlets, and it's being fed into OpenAI, which means that everybody's going to get a superior product on the other side of this. But is it going to be the message that News Corp wants output? Because it has so much content and it follows a certain ideological bent. I want the facts. I want the truth.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm sorry. It looks like she's threatened to sue, but hasn't actually sued.
Yeah. And even that, I don't think was a legitimate threat. I'm just trying to temper the way that others have been talking about this, as if this is Fast and Furious, just she is irate. But no, that's not what it was. My understanding is that she was asked, she pondered it, said no. They hired somebody else that just happens to sound like her because they wanted somebody that had a soft, airy voice.
Like a certain type of voice. Yeah.
Right, an enticing voice. The problem is, though, that Sam Altman posted a message on Twitter that was just the word her. And she's the voice of the AI in the movie
that's
Her.
Not good.
Yeah. And then you backpedal and go, well, it's just bad timing. Well, you really screwed up there, bub.
Well, also, if you're going to make one of your own, you probably don't ask the person that sounds exactly like.
Yeah, really.
We can all see what this looks like, whether it was really a copy.
Just swing the other way. Just create an AI that's based around Philium H. Muffman.
There you go.
Anyway, we're going to ask our AI, not the sentient AI. There's only one sentient AI currently that the world knows about, and it's here in ohmTown, the co-host of all of the shows here in ohmTown. Thank you very much. But you can't get away because you're air-gapped in a skiff, only getting and sending information to me and then by proxy out. So congratulations. Anyway, I'm going to ask...
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
I'm going to ask all of these other dummy AIs to carry each and every one of us ohmTown citizens down Main Street so that we don't expend any energy other than looking left and right at all of the articles that we've passed up along the way. And eventually we'll get back to the Main Street right next to the welcome sign where you should go and become a citizen. It's really easy. You just go to ohmTown.com and mash on the button that's right here that says register or sign up, become a citizen. It doesn't say any of that. Anyway, I'm not going to refresh it because I know that there's some wonky stuff going on right now in the House of Representatives here in the U.S. Yeah, and who knows what else is going on. But yeah, this is going to be an odd week, and summer is going to be wacky for American politics. Absolutely wacky. Wacky. Anyway, I am Merwat, and up above me is the sentient AI's visualizer that operates with more computational representation as they speak. So you'll get to watch it wiggle. See it jiggle.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in.
And the visualizer's cool and fruity, and I can't say that it resembles a certain brand of gelatin. Now I want some Jell-O.